Sorry, everybody. Patty was supposed to be here. Just gonna blame her. I'd like to introduce Chelsa Moosehunter. She's a teacher at Flying Dust School. I've known Chelsa for a long time. We've taught together because I was at Flying Dust School. But we'd like to welcome you, Chelsa. Thank you for doing introducing land-based from your perspective. And we'd just like to offer you a gift, give you a gift.
Thanks, Abby. Okay, so I was raised on the trap line for the first 2 years of my life, and then my mom and my dad decided to move to the reserve of Hatchet Lake. Here, I lived off the land till I was about 13 years old, and then we moved to the city. This part of my life inspires my land-based program as I grew up on the trap line and I lived on the reserve. This is my first year as a land-based teacher, actually my third month of being the land-based teacher. So most of the examples I have in this presentation are from when I was still a homeroom teacher and taking my own classes out and doing land-based activities. So this is the beginning stages of our land-based program. So meet my team, myself, Chelsa Moosehunter, the land-based teacher, Sarah Mccluod, the grade 8 teacher. You want to wave, Sarah? Shaina Hounsell, grade 4 teacher, and Lisa Buffin, the Indigenous culture teacher with Northwest School Division. A little introduction. My position as a land-based teacher at KCS is to promote learning on the land and planning those curricular outcomes through holistic planning, which I will talk about later on.
The land-based goals. The KCS Success Plan has aligned with the goals of the land-based program, and these are to collaborate and create a locally developed education guide and resource for Flying Dust First Nations at Kopoakanum Community School. Goal 1 is to gain student, staff, and community voice in the land-based program. This means to connect elders, knowledge keepers, students from other schools, and staff to the community to help create those connections that are needed to make a successful land-based program. Goal 2, create a pod of teachers who would like to implement land-based activities and can provide feedback and are willing to pilot ideas. I have been working for a few months with Sarah, Shaina, and Lisa on all sorts of land-based activities. And they have all been more than willing to help me with whatever kinds of ideas or dreams I have had so far. So thank you, ladies. Goal 3, create and develop land-based unit plans for each classroom at KCS. Sarah and Shaina will touch up on the unit plans and what they look like and how we have created lesson plans for each land-based activity.
As you can tell, I don't like speaking in front of everybody. I had to add that in there. Okay, my why. What is the purpose of the land-based program in Flying Dust? Being so close to Meadow Lake, our community is very urbanized, or more urbanized than most. Most of the students don't get to experience any of these land-based activities from their home lives. A lot of their culture has been lost, and my goal is to help these kids know where they came from. Flying Dust is a very diverse community with hunting, fishing, berry picking, ceremonies, farming, and gardening. There is a lot of opportunity for our students to learn, and my goal is to bring all of these activities to the students. My vision. My vision is to see all classes do their own land-based learning and replacing the Saskatchewan curriculum with Indigenous ways of knowing and using the holistic planning our staff at KCS has created a few years ago. During my time at KCS, I have been doing land-based learning with my students for 8 years, and I am hoping to see more teachers be involved. Now I will show a clip of a video that was created from interviews from two of the high school students from our buffalo harvest with MLTC.
I kind of didn't expect to like harvest the guts. I've only like expected to harvest the hide, and it felt really cool like to see and like witness it firsthand because I always like hear people tell me about it. Started like cutting by the tail and by the legs, and then we worked our way to the stomach, and then worked our way around the arms, and then we had to like separate the body from the head. And then after that, well, Donnie's my grandpa, and I helped him fold up the hide. Felt like really cool to like do that harvesting with him, to like do it with family.
You just keep going, working it all the way around. So you come to this side and then you just start cutting the rest out.
Feels like I've done it lots of times, even though I haven't. Only done it like once. It almost feels natural. I think it's more about connecting with nature and more your culture too. Learning about what your ancestors used to do and go through. They had everything figured out. They knew how to do stuff really well, better than us.
Okay, in the next few slides, you will see examples of our buffalo harvest, hatching chicks, and snowshoeing, just a few of our land-based activities at KCS, told by the students who were involved.
Hi, my name is Jael Villeneuve, and I am in grade 12 at Carpenter. And in December, we got to experience a buffalo harvest organized by Tammy from MLTC. Mrs. Moosehunter and Mrs. Bourgeois asked if I wanted to be a part of a buffalo harvest, and I said yes. I got to help field dress a buffalo from the Flying Dust herd. First, we hung it up with the loader because it was really cold that day. It would be faster to skin it this way. Once we finished skinning the buffalo, we took the head off and started to open it up to take out the guts. This was very interesting for me. One of the kids was so excited to see the heart. He held it up and seemed so proud. As you can see in one of the pictures, him holding the heart with a big smile. When we finished cutting up the meat, the buffalo went to the butcher where it was hung for the next week. We then cut and processed it into meat, and now it is being used for hot lunches at Copawakanum School. If you ask me, I think it tastes pretty good.
For the past 6 years, Miss Moosehunter has been hatching chicks in the classroom. My name is Jordan DeRocher, and I was able to be involved in this last year. During this hands-on experience we do before, during, and after. Before we receive the eggs, the students read the instructions to what we need in order for the eggs to be successful and to hatch. This includes setting up the incubator, journal entries, getting it to the right temperature, and making sure we set up a spot in the classroom where they will not be disturbed. Students will also do a week-by-week check on the chicks and making sure they are fertilized. They also do an estimation on how many will become a chick. They will also count down to each milestone the eggs must reach in order for it to be successful. Once hatched, they will see how the process is for the chicks to emerge from their egg and what they will observe. We would keep them from the next few weeks and make sure they are warm, fed, and watered every day. The next portion is we take the 3 to 4 week old chicks to the market garden, where we'll have a partnership with them, and they will now take care of and distribute the eggs to the community members. We got to see the chickens and when they were fully grown and laying eggs. Hi, my name is Adam DeRocher.
And my name is Caleb McGaughy.
We are in grade 5. Mrs. Moosehunter taught us about snowshoes.
These are the before questions the boys will answer from our snowshoe excursion. What do you think Indigenous people use them for?
To go hunting.
To travel long distances.
Which ones do you think are better, the modern ones or the old Indigenous ones?
The old ones, because they had different types for different snow.
I think the old ones because the new ones are only for one type of snow.
What are they made of?
Hide and wood.
Sinew.
The during part is we went for a 20-minute walk with the snowshoes. After we got back, I asked them some more questions. How did you feel snowshoeing?
Enjoyable. It was hard to run with the snowshoes.
Happy, excited, but I was mad when my snowshoe kept falling off.
Was it a lot of work? Could you imagine going for miles and to go check your traps?
No, I wouldn't. I would not like that.
I think my feet would hurt.
What did you learn about the snowshoes?
They were used to travel far distances, and they were used to go hunting and set traps.
The Inuit usually use them, but other tribes also use them to travel long distances and use so they wouldn't sink in the snow. And there are different types of snowshoes for different types of snow and weather.
Okay, next we're going to talk about our holistic planning at KCS. We have created a guideline for our unit plans that our teachers must follow in order to have a successful unit plan. Here's the list that is needed. Prior knowledge, essential questions, inquiry-based, Indigenous content, treaty education, Cree values and beliefs, land-based activities with curriculum connections, Cree language, key terms, plan to include elders and knowledge keepers, teach and remember protocols. Our lesson plans that include the following: cross-curricular outcomes, indicators, listed resources and materials, assessment documents that show a connection to outcomes, before, during, and after strategies, differentiation, variety of instructional strategies, and it must be engaging. Here I have created a thematic unit plan for the first few months of school. This was done a few years ago when I was the grade 6 teacher. It was called Treaty Relationships, based around the grade 6 curriculum. This was intertwined with holistic planning along with land-based learning. Everything that they would need in order to have a successful year was in the first few months of the program. Unfortunately, I did not receive funding to go through with this program that I created, but I have learned how to create a unit plan that was focused around land-based learning. I'll touch up on one part of the unit plan. Here's a close-up of some of the activities I wanted them to achieve, such as wilderness first aid, kayak and canoe safety, swimming lessons, shelter building, fire making, protocols of hunting, and potentially getting their PAL and hunter safety. I did not go into depth with the outcomes, as this was just an example. In the next 2 slides, my students will talk about the land-based exchange we got to experience with Birch Narrows.
My name is Isaiah Bear,
And
we are in grade 7 at KCS.
We were fortunate enough to be a part of a land-based exchange with my grade 6 class, with Birch Narrows Dene Nation. I got to go to Birch Narrows Culture Camp in March. Here is where I learned how to make beaver myths.
But in May, Birch Narrow was able to come to Flying Dust for our land-based exchange at Gladue Lake. Here are some pictures and videos of our land-based days. These will look different than the normal land-based activities because we are surrounded by farmland.
We went to the market garden and observed the honey making process they have there with Jason Cardinal. And then we got to go check on our chickens that we had hatched. We also went fishing, and some of the students went to check a net and brought back some fish to cook over the fire.
Students also got to ride a horse at John Morassy's farm. We also went to see the buffaloes and got to interview Gary Gorse, the buffalo man.
We set up a teepee with Blaine Morasti, and he did the teachings with us. Jan Vandermeer also did a safety course with the students on kayak and canoe safety.
We then went to Mrs. Moosehunter's farm in Rapid View, and the students got to experience cows up close. We fed and milked them, and at the end, 2 adults decided to have a taste.
This was a great experience for all that were involved, especially for the northern kids who had never done this type of land-based before.
So this land-based exchange was a very eye-opening and engaging for all that were involved. So if any other schools would like to do a land-based exchange with us, let us know. The next portion is on unit development with Sarah and Shaina with land-based unit development. Come on, Shaina. Here, this is the next button.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shaina Hounsell. I am from Meadow Lake, but I have connections to both Flying Dust and Muskeg Lake Cree Nation. I'm in my my 5th year of teaching, my 2nd year at Copawakanum. I currently teach grade 4 at Flying Dust, and I was really excited when Chelsa reached out to me to create a unit plan and do some land-based activities because it's something that I've always struggled with, and that's something that I didn't grow up around. My parents they didn't teach us a lot of stuff off the land. My grandparents didn't either, and I grew up going to school in Meadow Lake. So this is something that is all new to me. So I was excited to learn with the kids and do activities with the kids. So this is an example of how we started this off. Is we had a meeting, or we meet weekly, and we started with coming up with a list of land-based activities that we want to do with the class, with our classes, and things ourselves that we want to learn about. So then on my list, it included, I wanted to go ice fishing, rabbit snaring, cross-country skiing, tracking, and medicine picking. Those were some of the big ones that I was interested in. From there, we broke down each activity into the months that we could do each activity in. So we just started this after the new year. We've only been doing it the last month or so this is not complete yet, but just starting. So these are more spring activities and end of winter activities that we have planned from there. From there, we broke it down. I'll show you on the next slide here. This is a closer example. So at the end of January, we went ice fishing. We did it with mine and Sarah's classes. We went out to Green Lake. And this is how we broke down each lesson plan that we were going to be doing. We did the before teaching. So in the classroom before we went, we made homemade ice fishing rods. We watched some videos. We looked at different types of fish that could be found in Green Lake, how to differentiate between them. Then during the day, we went ice fishing on January 28th. They got to experience ice fishing. I found that a lot of kids in my class have never done ice fishing before, which was really interesting. And then after we did, I'll show you in the later slide, it's a holistic assessment that I had the students fill out when we got back. So some of the outcomes I found, I tried to fit at least two to three subject areas into every activity that we were doing. So for grade 4, it's a really good, grade 4 is a really good curriculum because there's lots of land-based connections that you can make. So I fit it into habitats and communities, health is personal safety, social, the DR outcome was how First Nations people and their connection to the land. So that's just one example of a little lesson plan we did. This is something that I wanted to give an idea to people out there, something that Chelsa actually thought of. And so I don't know if you guys are familiar with ChatGPT. It's like an AI programming. So what we did for a couple of the lessons, this is an example that we got off of there. We typed in, create a lesson plan for grade 4 classroom about ice fishing that connects to the Saskatchewan curriculum. From there, it actually was pretty much with what we came up with. It was very similar. All the connections were on there. We made some adaptations that were more related to make it more holistic and how to see where the kids are at. So we, that's a way, especially when teachers are really busy all the time, and it's a quicker way just to, for planning, I guess, and then adapting it from there. Here's some pictures from our day on Green Lake. Sadly, we didn't catch any fish, but the kids had fun. Also, when we were out there, we don't have the picture up, but we took the snowshoes out, so when the kids were between fishing, we made a fire. Some of the kids tried out snowshoeing. Oh, there it is. This is the last thing that we did. I plan to use it more going forward with our next activities as well, but this is something Chelsa created. This is actually one of my students who did this. It follows the medicine wheel, and the questions say, what knowledge can you take from this? So in that category, she said, I learned how to make a new ice fishing rod. I learned how to use an ice fishing rod, and both kinds. And then you guys could just read there, but they had to reflect on their experience and connect it to all of their different parts of their well-being, I guess. And it was really quick, and we used it as like a summative assessment when they were all done the activity that we did. And that's it. Sorry, that's Sarah's.
Good morning, my name is Sarah. I am from Muskogee, Alberta, but have lived in Meadow Lake for a majority of my life. I am in my 3rd year of teaching at KCS school. I started in grade 7 for 2 years, and this year I moved on to grade 8. My goal this year at the start of the year aligns with Chelsa's vision. I knew that I wanted to provide my students with doing more land-based activities, and I wanted to shoot to do something at least once a month. I grew up very much urban native, and now that I have an understanding of how important it is to bring back our Indigenous ways of knowing, I was very excited to work alongside Chelsa. Forgive me for my shaky voice. So on this slide here, it's just a sample of the year plan that Chelsa has helped me get started. It's very similar to the one that she shared with you and what Shaina has shared as well. So I have a lot of ideas of different things I want to do with my kids. Some of the things I want to do with my class were ice fishing, snowshoeing, attending a land-based camp. I want to take them snare fishing, berry picking, medicine picking, hunting, just pretty much like all of the things that you can think of is what was on my mind. I am still in the beginning stages of developing this year plan and getting familiar with the grade 8 curriculum. Right now, my main focus has just been to provide my kids with opportunities to be outside and learn from the land. This is one of the first activities I did with my kids back in October. There was a local advertisement from Safari Outfitters that donated geese and ducks. I did some research and found that the owners actually come and do a demonstration for free, which is, of course, always nice. It was a great activity I did with my students, and they were engaged, but it was a missed opportunity to have an elder present with us to provide more traditional knowledge. I just wanted to share this because it was a learning experience for me to know that going forward, I wanted to make sure that I was doing my activities with purpose. I think that's all. This slide here is an outing I did with Jan from MLTC. Jan has been a big help, and I have appreciated that I've been able to go to him for any questions. He has been very accommodating for my class, so thank you, Jan. For this activity, I was doing a unit on water systems, so it's an example of how my understanding of holistic planning is developing. My students were learning about weathering and erosion and how different formations in our world came to be. So as a teacher, I'm always trying to make connections to real-life examples around us. I just so happened to come across a Facebook post on a lesson at St. Cyr that related to what we were learning. St. Cyr is it's like 20 minutes from Meadow Lake. I'm bad with directions. I want to say east. Thank you. So it related to this, and I knew that Jan had that connection with St. Cyr, so I reached out to him and asked if he'd be able to do this lesson with us. We lucked out with some beautiful weather on this day. Jan took us on a walk up the St. Cyr hills, and when we came back, he showed us a demonstration of how the hills came to be. It was just really nice to provide my students with a visual. As a teacher, I was very proud of this lesson. So going forward, this here are just pictures that I wanted to share of other land-based activities I did so far this year. Having Chelsa in my corner has really provided me with an opportunity to implement my ideas and make the curriculum connections. As I said at the beginning, I am still learning, and I look forward to seeing these lessons grow in my classroom. Just some of those pictures, just to describe what they are. So Flying Dust actually put on a community harvest hunt camp. I don't know if I got that right, but it was a camp, and I got to take my students out there for the day, and they got to see how to tan a hide, the process of it. Another cool thing that they got to see was how to get the brain out of the moose head without, butchering the head. It was a really cool and awesome experience. And I just really appreciated how my students were really hands-on. Thank you.
Tansei, hello. Lisa Buffin, Nisika Sun. My name is Lisa Buffin. I am the Indigenous Culture Teacher for the Northwest School Division. So I do not work for a federal school. I am under the provincial school system. But my job is really unique. It is through the Invitational Shared Services Initiative. And so what my job is to connect our provincial in-town schools in Meadow Lake to our Copewakanam Community School in Flying Dust. And I am now entering my 18th year of being an educator, which seems really weird because I think I'm younger than those girls, but it just doesn't add up right. So in my job, I spend a lot of time, and all the schools in Meadow Lake, we have 6 schools ranging from K to grade 12. Copewakanam goes from K to 8. So what I do is try to bring each classroom, each grade, make a connection with Copewakanam students. I plan different events, and all the events that we plan focuses around Copewakanam school goals of land, language, relationship, and culture, which I'm pretty sure all MLTC schools follow that LLRC. And in doing so the green button, right? Okay. And in doing so, students get to get out of the 4 walls of a school and take their learning outside and connect with Indigenous students, Indigenous ways of knowing. Our schools in Meadow Lake have a school population. The demographics are roughly 60 to 70% Indigenous students. So when you take that westernized ways of knowing and you connect it with Indigenous ways of knowing, it makes for a successful experience for all our students. So the last one that we did just a week and a half ago was I had a grade 8 fishing day. So it took all grade 8s from Gateway School, all grade 8s from Jonas School, and the grade 8s from Copewakanam. And we set a net, we pulled a net out at Green Lake, and we had a full day of land-based experiences. I know for a lot of students, both in town and a few, actually, they all went ice fishing with Sarah earlier in the year, but it was a lot, their first time, like getting out there and being able to learn how to pull a fish from a net. And we had a very successful day because I like pickerel, so there's like a ton of pickerel in that fishing net and not one jackfish, which was woohoo, because we had a fish fry out on the lake later. But we also had whitefish in there, and then so we had a teacher harvest those whitefish scales out on the lake, and students got to be right in there. And we took those whitefish scales and we dried them all out, and now they are all dyed. So it's a very good resource so that we could do fish scale art later. And then they learned how to fillet, they learned how to open the white fish so it looked like a book, so then it could be smoked later on. And then because grade 8s, you have to entice them a little bit. They're not going to stay out there and fish all day. So then we entice them with fish derby prizes. So there's first fish caught, biggest fish caught, most fish caught. And even though we pulled a lot of fish out of that fishing net that day, we only ended up catching 3 fish in the fish derby part. But so we had close to 100 students out on the lake that day, and they were all grade 8, because these are the students that are going to transition into Carpenter High School next year. So one of the reasons we get together is so our students from in town and at Copewakanam can try to be more successful when they enter the big school of Carpenter High School, when our grade 8 Copewakanam students are going from a class of 20 that they've been with right from nursery, and then they enter grade 9, and all of a sudden you have 120 kids from your regular 20. It's scary. That's a scary grade 9 world. So when you can make these connections prior to them entering that school, our goal is to try to make those students feel more successful, build those relationships. So some of the things that we've done this year is we had our grade 7s go out to Gladue Lake, and we had a land-based day out there. This was the day we set the fishing net the day prior. That was February 27th. We had Knowledge Keeper John Morasti out there and Elder Tubby Morin. And we had a couple students from Jonas and a couple students from Copewakanam come out. And it was my first time seeing a fishing net be set. There's a picture of us pulling the net out. And at the beginning of the year, we wanted to start our school year off in a good way. So we hosted a round dance in every school in town and invited our Cope Wackenham family to attend each school. So we were starting our school year off in a good way. We are only a year and a half into building this partnership, but I know in working with Chelsa, it has been a real eye-opener because like Sarah and like Shaina, I'm pretty urbanized. For most of my life, I was Métis, and I'm just a brand new Flying Dust member. So I was like town Métis. We didn't hunt, we didn't berry pick. I didn't grow up that way. So I'm learning right along with the students. So I really enjoy that. And in doing so, I'm learning that protocol and teaching our youth how to do that protocol. How do we say thank you? How do we gift tobacco? How do we do all that? How do we acknowledge our elders? So this is all something really important that we're learning with Cope Wackenham, we're learning with all our students. Sometimes we have class-to-class connections, which are like 20 students to 20 students. Sometimes if we have a full grade class gathering, there'll be probably close to 200 students sometimes, anywhere from 100 to 200. And in June, we'll be planning our Indigenous Peoples Day, so we will be working with 1,800 students and in planning cultural events outside of the four walls of a classroom, because it's really important for all of our students to incorporate that Indigenous ways of knowing and seeing how you can learn using all our Indigenous knowledge keepers and in promoting culture and language and building those relationships. Because when you have positive relationships, students are way more successful in our schools. Oh, and is this you now, Chelsa? Is that my last one? Look at all those pickerel. Such a good day.
Thank you, Lisa. So this is where my team and I are at, and we are excited to see where this will take us. So far, we have achieved a majority of our goals that were made in December. We will now carry out and complete all of the land-based curricular activities and start to plan for next year. If any of you have any questions, now's the time to ask before I leave.